Bonjour. We have today a very international event, and this event was started really as a very international event, and preparing this event we faced a lot of things on cross-cultural communication, because we were together Latvians, Germans, French people, and we talk in Latvian, in English, in French, and in German. And sometimes we change languages, sometimes we didn't change languages. For me, it was really a great experience. And I would like to introduce with our guests for today. You have noticed on PowerPoint on screen names of very high top, really, managers from Arte. Monsieur Marjorie and Herr Schneider. And now I would like to give floor for two people. Wiebke Bracke. She is first secretary of Embassy of Germany in Riga, and she is responsible for press and culture. And Monsieur Denis Diclon, and he is a director of the French Institute in Riga. And really, we must applaud for both of them, because they are really, from the beginning, supported this project. And thanks for them, this project was started in Riga and started in our faculty too. Thank you.
Good morning, Inter. Thank you very much for having us here today and the next week with this project about Arte. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here this early in the morning and taking your time to have a look at a very, very interesting project, I think. I will give a very short introduction on why we are doing this. And why we think that Arte is an important subject to show to you as students and professionals, young professionals in the media in Latvia. We are now celebrating the 50th anniversary of the German-French Friendship Treaty. What does this have to do with Latvia? Well, between Germany and France, really for centuries, there has been, they were really enemies, and they fought a lot of really bloody wars against each other. And 50 years ago, they decided to end this past and to go a step into the future and to really try to work together. Germans and French have very different systems in whatever they do what concerns, you know, education, what concerns the administrative build of the state, yes, because, for instance, Germany is a federal state, France is a more centralized state. The whole political system, the language, everything is really different. But the two countries decided that they want to do something together, and they want to consult each other in a range of different topics, and basically all the political topics, in the foreign affairs, and what concerns the civil society, which are young people, which are city partnerships, and from this idea, they also had the idea to create a common TV station. A TV station that is bilingual and bicultural, because it's not just about translating a content into a different language. If the others don't have the same idea about what TV should be, they will probably not like to watch it, or they will even be offended by what they see. So this is the idea that led to the foundation of Arte. Now I would like to give the floor to Denis Duclos to say a few words of welcome as well. And then I would like to wish you a very interesting presentation of Arte. And thank you as well for Dieter Schneider, André de Margerie, for being here this morning and giving the students the opportunity to learn more about this very interesting project of Arte.
Labdien. Je crois que, en fait, Wiebke a tout dit. Elle a fait effectivement donc le cadrage politique, donc je ne reviendrai pas dessus.
Labdien jums visiem. Ģuklokungs domā, ka Vībke Brāke jau diezgan daudz pastāstīja par tieši artes izveidošanas un šī te pasākuma varbūt politisko pamatu.
Je voulais simplement vous remercier d'être venus aussi nombreux ce matin.
Viņš gribēja jums pateikt vispirms visiem lielu paldies par to, ka tik kuplā skaitā šodien esat šeit.
Remercier bien entendu l'ambassade d'Allemagne pour le travail en commun que nous avons effectué et qui était aussi une manifestation à son échelle donc de la coopération franco-allemande.
Milzīgi liels paldies Vācijas vēstniecībai par to milzīgi lielo darbu, sagatavojot šo te, jāsaka, Francijas-Vācijas nedēļu, kas arī ir tāds, jāsaka, Francijas-Vācijas sadarbības piemērs.
Remercier bien entendu Madame Briksche, sans qui cette conférence aujourd'hui n'aurait pu se tenir.
Liels paldies arī Intai Brikšas kundzei, bez kuras, protams, palīdzības šī te šodienas tikšanās nevarētu notikt.
Remercier nos deux intervenants, donc Monsieur Schneider et Monsieur de Margerie.
Mums jāsaka arī paldies šodienas lektoriem, Schneider kungam un de Margerie kungam.
Cette intervention en fait est incluse dans une semaine qui est consacrée à Arte et qui présentera d'autres événements.
Šodienas tikšanās tātad iekļaujas Francijas-Vācijas pasākumu nedēļā, kurai sekos vēl daudz citi pasākumi.
Je vous invite donc à consulter le site de l'ambassade d'Allemagne, le site du Goethe-Institut et le site de l'Institut français pour connaître l'intégralité du programme qui pourrait vous intéresser.
Mēs tātad aicinām jūs ielūkoties Vācijas vēstniecības, Goethe institūta Rīgā un Francijas institūta mājaslaps, lai uzzinātu, kādi vēl citi pasākumi notiks tuvākajās dienās.
Paldies.
Paldies.
And I would like to give some small comments about the agenda for today. At first, we will have two presentations from Monsieur Margerie and Herr Schneider. And then we will make some small break. And after break, Sophie will tell some practical things how to watch really the film, because for technical interesting things what was made, what you could see in this film. And I hope that you will ask questions, because that's not so often really so high top really people from so important channel in our building. And now the floor I would like to give Monsieur Margerie. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Madame Brix. Good morning, everybody and everyone. So with Dieter, we will try in maybe 40 minutes, not more, to explain to you about Arte, about a little bit of its history, about the reasons why it has been settled like 20 years ago now. I will go more into the history and the institutional presentation, while Dieter will probably speak more about the programs. So if we come to the history of this very exceptional because it's unique in the world. You could travel all the way around. You will never find any other place where public television has been made by two countries at the same time. Television is normally a national thing. Everyone has its own television in its own language, and this is how things go all over the places. Except here in Arte, where it has been decided. I would say on the French point of view, the reason why we thought it was important and we really got into this project is that we had a very great lack in the French television landscape, a lack of cultural programs. Under the pressure of advertising, under the pressure of money, most televisions were going on the mainstream programs and were slowly or fastly forgetting about ambitious programs, forgetting about culture in the television, about debates, about original versions for the films, about documentaries, and they were going all the way through what everybody knows of the commercial television. So that was really one reason for us to believe in the necessity of a cultural channel. The second reason is a political reason, is that in the, I would say the 88, 89, there was a need between France and Germany, or at least that was thought by the two President Mitterrand and Chancellor Helmut Kohl, that really France and Germany needed to have a new initiative in the field, in the ground of culture. So, of course, there was the Goethe Institute, there was the Institut Français, who would cooperate more and more, students from Germany coming to France, French students going to Germany, but nevertheless the whole thing was a little bit, I wouldn't say asleep, but it really needed a new factor. So somebody said, and what about television? Do you think it would be possible to make a television? First reaction, of course, no. This is completely impossible. No French audience will be interested in German programs. No German audience will be interested in French programs. But as it had been decided as a major goal, it was done. So experts got around the tables and they asked, well, how can we do that? So it was, of course, decided that this television would be in the public sector of television. So it also had the meaning that it was public money that could fund such an initiative. Because, of course, on the market, on the commercials section, it would not be a project that could survive with advertising. So it was really meant to be in the public sector. So what was done to give a certain weight to this decision, that a treaty, international treaty, was signed between 11 Länder of Germany and French Republic about the creation of this new cultural binational television. And the name was found after many, many researches. We came back to Arte, which is a name that you can pronounce in German, in French, in Italian, even in English, and so on and so forth. It's a very simple name, Arte, which of course may give the impression in the first place that it is an art channel, which is not the case. Certainly you will find art programs, music, theater, dance, and opera, and so on and so forth, painting, architecture, but the decision was taken to take the more the German aspect of, the German conception of culture, which is broader, much broader, going all the way to, of course, history and even current affairs, geopolitics. So it's not at all an arts channel, okay? It's a general subject channel. Only two fields are not covered in Arte: sports, there's no sports, and no entertainment, singers who come to promote their last DVD or CD or whatever. Those two we don't have. The rest of it we have. We have documentary, which is a very strong part of the editorial line of Arte, very strong. I would say more than 50% of the programs are documentaries. Then we have fiction, TV films, TV fiction. We also have performing arts programs, and we also have cinema, long feature films, should they be bought or should they be co-produced by Arte? Because this is also a strong element of our identity, is that Arte is not an acquisition channel. Arte is a production channel. We produce around 80% of our contents, which makes of Arte a strong player, as well in Germany, as well in France, and also for other countries, because we make international co-production, a strong player in the field of new programs, new programs. The organization, if we go there, so if you look at the landscape of France television, you see that the private channels are mainly three: TF1, M6, and Canal+. The public channel is France Télévisions and Arte. Okay, so you see roughly the market shares of each of them. Arte is around 2% of the market share in France. If I go to the German audiovisual landscape, you see the main private channels: RTL, Sat.1, Pro7, RTL2. I hope I'm not, is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, and the public is two great systems. One is the ARD system, and the second one is ZDF system, Dreisat, and also Arte. So Arte in Germany is around 1% of the audience market share. So now this slide shows you roughly the organization. The organization is on 3 feet, I would say. If we start by the Arte GEI, this is the common body of Arte. This is in Strasbourg. This is the common body where the programs are assembled. I mean, the contribution of the German side programs, the contribution of the French side program, and this is where the grid, the schedule is organized. And this is also the place from where the signals, the final signal of Arte, goes to the satellites and then goes to the cable systems or to the terrestrial systems. So that is Strasbourg. Then you have here the 2 members of this GEI. The Arte France member, 50% of the whole thing, and the German member, Arte Deutschland, also 50%, which relies very much on the ARD and the ZDF public television also. So you see by this slide that it is not really a very complicated system, but nevertheless it took a lot of time to settle everything and for each and everyone to know how to work. The decisions and the direction of the channel, everything is split in 2. The budget is split in 2. The people who work for Arte is more or less half and half French and half Germans. The money is half-half. The time schedule also is half-half. So it's really a share of everything in this channel. Okay, here you have a certain number of slides. We have agreements with different other partners in Europe. Maybe Dieter will speak more about this, like about 9 or 10 televisions in Europe, which are our partners. And not to be too long, I will end this quick expose by attracting your attention on the fact that, of course, like any other channel in the world, we are getting faster and faster into the digital world, which means that not only we have to produce a traditional TV program, ambitious program, as you understood, cultural program, international program, just for the programs of Arte, maybe I was not very clear. The programs of Arte are 1/3 would be are French, 1/3 are German, and the last third are European and international. This is really also a very strong characteristic of Arte. It's not only meant to be a Franco-German channel, but really it's an open space for culture. It's an open space for German culture to be seen in France. It's an open space for French culture to be seen in Germany and also for Europe. And I was mentioning the internet world, the digital world. Of course, we have to follow and eventually be ahead and active in the internet, because we very well know that a lot of people are now, less people are interested in traditional television. As very young people that you are here, I'm very sure that you don't watch a lot of television. We know that, I will not ask. But you like to see images whenever you want on any kind of support, should it be mobile, should it be computers or whatever. So Arte has, of course, decided to play its part in this new digital world, and we offer some complementary programs. One is dedicated to music and performing arts. The second one is dedicated to video art, architecture, painting, creations, and so forth, Arte Creative. And we are about to launch in a few weeks from now a third additional program for internet by the name of Arte Future. So there we are. It's been 20 years we've been there. It's not a massive audience, but we very much believe that we bring something different. There's a special flavor in Arte, and people know about that, and this is our reputation. The brand of Arte is a very strong one, and we hope to keep on going on the same track. So that's for a quick presentation, and of course I hope you could have some questions afterwards. Maybe I will now turn to Dieter.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you come back to the structure of Arte? Yeah, perhaps I stand up. We are not here to tell you what we think about Arte. I think we are here to explain your questions about what is a bilingual cultural channel. So if I'm boring, if I'm not interesting, wave with your hands, put questions, interrupt me, because it's not that I have a certain program to reach to you. I want to get in a dialogue with you. This is a very interesting picture because it's not the reality. And that is also the reality of a national bilingual broadcaster. Because Arte in France because France is from the political history a very centralized state. Germany is from the history a very federal organized state. So it looks like two blocks, but in reality it's only a block in France, and in Germany it's fragmented into thousands of pieces. So we have the federal broadcasters in Germany are part of Arte. And that means it is totally complicated for any producer in the world to find people of Arte in Germany. In France, you can go to Paris, and in Paris there is Arte France, and there are the commissioning editors of the program. In Germany, you have to hire a detective, and after a certain time, he finds out where the commissioning editors in Germany are, because they are divided in ZDF or at the Landesrundfunkanstalten, the federal broadcasters in Germany. Perhaps I can tell you a bit what let's say, the voyage of a program in Arte is. If there is let's say, a producer here in Latvia who has the idea of making a documentary about the Baltic states and thinks it could be interesting for Europe also to be seen in Germany and France, he has to find out where the commissioning editors are. Perhaps he goes to Paris, or he finds a commissioning editor in Germany. And then, if they say, yes, it's an interesting proposal, then that is the normal work of a commissioning editor, I think, in any TV channel in the world. he starts, okay, the Baltic states, did we have program about the Baltic states in the last years? Was it the same topic? Is it a different? Then we say, okay, that's interesting, we should do it. Then this proposal was made for the program conference of Arte. This is a very important conference because there are made the decisions which programs are produced and which not. Every program from Arte has to be accepted by this conference, and also this conference is divided with French members, German members, eight people, and they decide. And if they say, yes, interesting project, we will do it, then the project goes back to the Arte France or Arte Deutschland, and they start to negotiate with the producer in Latvia the contract about how much money it will cost, which rights Arte need for the production, for the broadcasting, perhaps for the internet. And then everything is fixed in a contract, and then the producer in Latvia starts producing. Let's say half a year, 1 year, 2 years, long projects, big, perhaps international documentary films. They have a long time of funding before they can start shooting. That does not mean that they only have to get the project to Arte, but perhaps to 10, 11, 12 other broadcasters in Europe or in the world. That takes time. So perhaps after 2 years, 3 years, the program is finished. And then the program comes back. If it's finished and everything is fine and it's okay, it goes back to Arte Deutschland, Arte France, and they deliver it to Arte Strasbourg. And they deliver it, if it's a Latvian program, we deliver it in the German language version to Arte. But German is a bilingual, Arte is a bilingual channel, so what is missing? The French version. And in Strasbourg, there is an enormous amount of work done for this transfer of the programs delivered to them in the other language. In the last years, they made 4,000, in every year, 4,000 second speech language versions of 3,000 programs delivered to them. This is an enormous amount of synchronized dubbed versions, voice-over versions, subtitled versions, because a bilingual channel, the language work is very important and has, in Arte, it has an amount of 15 million euros only for this language work. Yes, and then the program is broadcasted. The program philosophy, Andre has said something about this cultural thing. I think this, what is culture, what is European culture, what is the German-French culture is, let's say, is always a bit in discussion, meaning what programs shall Arte produce? There is this orientation to Europe, very interesting, that we want to show Europe by the people living in Europe. There was an interesting project in the last years produced and in the beginning of this year broadcasted. It was Farewell Comrades, Adieu Kamerad, Lebt wohl Genossen, the 3 languages. It was an international project about the breakdown of the Soviet Union. But Arte is not telling this documentary like a historic documentary, what is when, what happened when, but we decided to tell the story through the countries and the people who lived in the different countries, and it was totally different development and what people experienced in Polonia, from that what in East Germany was, or here in the Baltic states. And this is the program philosophy. That was a program in a series of 6 films, also a production for the internet. It was in French and an Hungarian author with a Russian director and a French and German production company filming in the east of Europe, speaking with 100 of protagonists from all the different countries. And in the end, it's a production with 10 European TV channels who have participated in this. This is a typical production for Arte. And yeah, I don't know what to tell more. Yeah, perhaps a bit more about the... No, it's not so interesting. Yeah, the development of the digital media is also not only that we say that we want our television programs also be that you could see it in the internet, but we are also working on cross-media projects to combine the world of television and internet, meaning that we start projects in the internet, for example. Last year there was a huge project called Tous pour l'art, everything for the arts. It was, in the internet, we said young artists can put photos of their works in the internet and they can present themselves there, and we, arts experts, look for the best young artists who have present their work there, and they can participate in a master class, and Arte will film this. So the first step was an internet project with 2,000 people putting their photos of their works there. 10,000 of arts photos were in, and there was a huge amount of traffic, 1 million visitors on the Arte website looking who is there, who is, what is the quality of the work. And then in the end, a jury decided who of them could participate in the masterclass. And then the masterclass took place in Berlin and Brussels because it was a co-production between Arte Germany, Arte Strasbourg, and Arte Belgique, RTBF. So it was also like it's a bit in the European Union. We had to look that there are 3 participants from Germany, 3 participants from France, 2 participants from Belgium, so that everyone has his interests and his young artists in this project. And during the production period, it was also continued in the internet with masterclass short clips there. So it was a bit thing between internet and television. And we are very much trying out things there. Arte is perhaps one of the European channels who is very, very much engaged in internet, even if there is a problem also between these 2 nations. In France, the policy is like that Arte should develop his engagement in the internet. In Germany, it is very restricted that the public broadcasters can engage in the internet. It's like this, but we have to deal with this situation. Yeah, and then Arte as a European channel has, Andreas mentioned it, has cooperation with other European broadcasters in Austria, in Belgium, in Polonia. I think it's 9 countries. And that means that there is a special amount of money put in co-production projects. It's not depending on, normally you get proposals for a documentary and decide is it good or not. If it's good, you make it. If it's not good, you don't do it. But in these cooperations is that perhaps, let's say, the Austrian channel puts in advance a certain amount of money for co-production projects, and the same money is done by Arte, and then we look for projects which we can do for this money. That is the construction of Arte in the cooperation things. Yeah, but I think you have questions. You must have questions. It's impossible that you have no questions.
Now the floor for questions. I will start maybe. That you talk globally about art as a European cultural channel. In the same time, that is typical, I must say, bilingual channel in 2 languages, of course, with some international projects. How you are keeping really this European agenda on your channel? Because it is typically for journalists to think that we are working for our audience. It means to work for Germans or to work for French people. How you are keeping European agenda?
Yes, it's a first question. It's a difficult question, how we keep the European agenda in the program making. Yesterday there was a bit like a wit, if you switch off the sound of the program of Arte, you nevertheless after 1 minute you know, is it a program from France or is it a program from Germany? Because they are, even after 20 years, producing for the same channel. It's different. It's totally different, the French approach and the German approach. And it's normally a bit, because it's the structure is balanced, that we can say, yes, half of the program comes with this more French perspective, half of the program more with a German perspective. But it's not that there is someone counting percentages or anything else, because sometimes a project, what is that, a German production? It's in the statistics that the producer is based in Germany, but that can mean that there is a German producer producing a documentary series about Russia, with Russian people, Russian point of view to their society, and in the end it's really a question, is that a German thing or is it a French thing? Normally, in the way films are made, you can see a bit more that it is perhaps a German producer. Sometimes, if there are international co-productions, this is more and more vanishing, this difference. But in the really special made French documentaries and the German ones, there is a difference. And that is, let's say, a combination of different aspects will make the picture of its own.
Yeah. Also, I may add on this, which is very true. I don't know if I really understood your question. The European agenda, is it the European cultural agenda? Maybe is that the idea? Because of course we try to follow what's happening in Europe. That's the minus thing that we can do. But then it's sometimes very difficult to be in good time. You see, because the programs, as Dieter said, sometimes are quick to be made and sometimes are very long to be made. So you can always, there is always a risk that we miss some very important European event here or there. If we take, for instance, the Riga cultural capital for Europe in 2014, we'll do our best. Probably we'll have some journalistic coverage of what's happening here. If possible, we can make a magazine, 25 minutes about this big music event or whatever. We will see. Also, we know that there's a European Film Academy to be here in Riga in December. So this and that. I mean, but also you have the Venice Arts Fair, then you have the Hamburg Book Fair, then you have the Salon du Livre in Paris. Then I mean, we're running all over the places to try to keep our audience in adequation or in touch with what are the major cultural events. But it's not always very easy, you see. But we try our best.
It's not only a question of Europe programming. Europe is the main focus of Arte, but we have also programs about topics all over the world. China is coming. In the last years, there was very much, because of the development in the Arabic world, we had very much programs about this. It's not that we make saying it must be 60% of the program of things in Europe. No. But I think it's also a natural way that we don't see very much what is going on in the cultural world from here in the United States. It's far more away, and even if you try to bridge the distances, it's clearly that we see and have cooperations here with cultural events in Europe. It's normal, and then so there is more program about this. And I think it's, for a European channel, it's the right way to work.
Questions? Yep.
Do you have any audience research? I mean, your programs, how are they received in different countries?
Yes, I think I said more or less that the French audience is 2%, market share of our audience is 2%, and in Germany is around 1%. For the rest of the European countries, we don't really know, because it's very expensive to make researches about that. We have an idea that around 250 million households can access Arte in one way or another one. Should it be by terrestrial, should it be by cable, should it be by satellite? Of course, it's not 250 million audience. It's a technical possibility for them to access Arte. So also we are quite well followed on the Maghreb, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, because this is a French-speaking area, and the satellite, the different satellites of Arte, they overspill Europe, so you can very easily access Arte in Maghreb. You can also, for free, you can also access Arte in sub-Saharan Africa, but this is on payment. And if you go east, of course, the north of Europe, the 27 countries are very well covered, of course. Although some improvements can be made, and we are trying to work on Latvia also, because very unfortunately it's not possible to see Arte on the cable systems here in Latvia, but I hope that we can change that. Anyway, to speak about Middle East, also the program of Arte can be seen from different Middle East countries.
Yeah, more questions?
You have been talking about the language question. Maybe you can come back again and explain how it's working in a bicultural environment, because there probably there are different approaches to how to do things, and this must play into the decision-making process, and this might be also interesting to know.
Yes, how that is influencing the decision-making process. I think there are, in a bicultural broadcaster, there are two different traditions of television, and that means that, let's say, the news on Arte, they have a different approach from the French side or a different approach from the German side. Even the how journalists work is different. How they present things, how they look on things, and in the news department in Arte there are. So I don't think that they are really looking exactly for a 50% German-French. It's also possible that there is a European guy or women working there, but in the end it comes to, let's say, one program, one news with one approach, which is a very Arte approach. And sometimes if you see the Arte program, you have a certain you feel what it is, this German-French thing. And if you go back and think, yes, how was this growing, this day of programming, one evening, let's say, one evening of 4-hour programs, what is there in the combination, what is, how the programs feel, what the audience think about it. In the end, it's a bit like, yeah, that is Arte, because in the end it's the combination of these two views on program making. And sometimes we have this, even for the media research, that there is, okay, if there is a documentary about, let's say, Jacques Brel, it's clear that it is high audience rates in France and in Germany also, because Jacques Brel is also popular in Germany, but not as in France. So you can see in advance what will happen on this evening with the audience rates. But sometimes for us, audience is a very unknown species. If you have, let's say, 3 commissioning editors in advance, when they estimate what the audience rate will be, you don't know. In the end, there are some things where you know your audience. We have also these very detailed things about if it's more male or female, which films are more perhaps, or which slots. There is a music magazine named Tracks. It's about the pop culture in the world, and it's on the Saturday later evening, and this magazine is, the audience there is at least 10 years younger than the average of the Arte program. Yes, we know it because it's clear. Pop music themes are more for the younger people. So in the end, it's a bit like lively, an organization like a bit like an own human being, changing, growing, and in the end, because there is not a master brain who is, because it's a combination of so much things. Television is a combination of program planning, of program producing, of an enormous amount of programs, daily programs, evening programs, magazines, news. So it's I think in the first years of Arte, there were like a new channel and a new bilingual channel. It was very chaotic sometimes.
Yes, of course.
I remember that there were the wrong subtitles on the program, and for people it was very curious what is going on this television screen. But it's getting more and more professional, more and more, we are used to work in this way, and in the moment, it's a good
Yes,
point.
I completely agree with what you say. In my view, the Arte program is not meant to really do a completely fusionné, how do you say, fusionné, merged program. Arte is the channel for diversity, and starting with the diversity between the French and the Germans. And we don't want to abdicate on this. We don't put our specificities behind our backs. After all, this is the project. The project is to build a common TV program for a vast audience in Germany and in France, but of course, it's good, we believe, that German programs look like German programs, and that French programs look like French programs. It's not the question of doing, I don't know what sort of bizarre binational, what is a binational documentary? It does not exist. It's I don't think so. Or of course you can have debates and you can have the point of views or whatever, but at the end of the day, it's a German filmmaker who makes the film, or it's a French filmmaker who makes the film, and this is the rich. This is why it's so fascinating. It's a common program, but it's not in the middle, whatever. It's really the diversity. And if we go with a German BBC series, a British BBC series, well, it's a BBC series. But we have chosen it because it's an exceptional one. You see, it goes by quality. And if we have an Iranian film, we'll show the Iranian film. Not German, not French, whatsoever. So culture is beyond boundaries, of course. But the specificities, they are important to keep.
Hi, I would like to ask a question about budgeting everything. How you can separate like these all expenses in two countries, like it goes 50 to Germany and 50 to France, or how can you even budget the programs all over the world? You know, to make, I don't know, Arabian movie or something like that. Is it comes to French budget or to German budget?
Yes, it depends on if there is a, let's say, an international producer who is approaching to the German side of Arte with this project, and the German side says, yes, we want to do it, then we have to spend the German money for it. And if he comes to Paris and it's a French production, and then he spends we have to spend the French money. You know, it's, I think it sounds complicated, but in the end, television is complicated. So you have to plan this in advance. There is a special, in the beginning, a special procurement planning that you say, okay, what does that mean, 40% of a program? Because 40% of a program is nothing. What if you say you have to do 40% of a program? Then you go home and, yeah, what do? There's cinema, we have documentary slots, we have music magazines, cultural magazines, news, everything. So we have to divide this 40% that in the end every slot has its own budget. That you not in the end say, okay, at the end of the year there is, sorry, we have to, the last week is black because we hadn't any money to, so we have to divide it and to plan it very exactly so that in the end, you know, you have perhaps on the German side for a documentary slot 10 documentaries in a year. And then, because documentaries are perhaps sometimes long, even cinema co-productions are also very long in the development. And then you know, you have perhaps in the next year 2 slots free because the other ones are already occupied from the year before. And then there is a proposal which is good. Then you can say, okay, we have 1 slot and 1 production money we give to this project. But it is set in advance how much it can be, because otherwise you spend your whole money in the first half of the year, and in the end you have nothing more.
I would like to know where, regarding the budget of Arte, how much is it a year? And I would like to know where the financial resources are coming from, actually. Do you have, resources, financial resources from advertisements, for instance?
Okay, the actual budget of Arte is 425 million euros. 425 million, which is quite a sum, really. So, cross fingers. I mean, the parliaments in both countries have accepted to increase a little bit each year the budget, and the money comes from the taxpayers, I would say. It's a special fee that in Germany and also in France you have to pay. It's compulsory. You have to pay in France. Every household has to pay 118 euros to be able to access public television and public radio and the archives facilities and whatsoever. I know that in Germany it's about twice this amount.
It's 120.
In France it's 118 a year.
A year, okay.
And in Germany I think it's like 200 euros.
No.
Okay, so I thought. Anyway, so that is public money and no advertising. That is a great characteristic of Arte. In my expose, I said that we really, it was really constructed to be protected from the influence of advertising, because the influence of advertising is terrible. If you depend on advertising to survive or to just live, then you do what you think the main audience would like to see, because of course then the advertisers would be happy to have the best audience. So you're always, all the time, looking for the best audience on any slot, and this is how ambitious programs, cultural programs, music, original version films disappear slowly from the schedules of any television. So we are, cross fingers, protected from that.
Thank you. Yesterday we have a national event here in Latvia, and it was a funeral of our very famous poet, Imants Ziedonis. And he had been not only very famous as a poet, but also for 5 decades, I guess, as an advisor for a people how to live, about a philosophy, ideology, and so. And my question is, do you have some experience in art to provide such information of giants, national giants, in a culture for other countries? And is there such possibility? And how to do, if yes? Thank you.
Yes, I think Arte France is in the moment a bit stronger in producing documentaries about poets. I think there are in the last...
Writers. Yeah, there's a collection, I think, of 10 portraits of European writers.
Yeah. Yes. I'm not so familiar with this project, but it depends on if it's a series of 10 and which countries, which poets are involved. But it's possible. It's why not making a documentary about a Latvian artist? That's.
I cannot answer your question. Did we cover the funeral of this poet yesterday? I'm not so sure. Maybe yes, maybe not. I can't really answer you. But I mean, if he's an absolutely outstanding personality in the field of culture, I hope we did so, or at least mention the fact that he died, and so.
The problem of Arte is because of the structure is it's not the fastest television broadcaster, meaning that the reaction time of certain things is in Arte is a bit longer, sometimes very much longer than other broadcasters.
Yeah, more questions?
Who watches regularly television here? Can you raise hand? Who watches television? Really?
And who is watching public television?
Not so bad.
As you've mentioned, Arte is public television, and I have a question. Is Arte a part of European Broadcasting Union? Yes. Is there any possibility, or maybe Arte is at the moment cooperating with other public televisions all over Europe? And for example, we have LTV, our public broadcaster, and is there any possibility that Arte might cooperate with LTV? Thank you.
So we had a meeting, quite an interesting meeting yesterday morning with some people of the LTV television. And we exchange about different possibilities, and eventually there could be some documentaries from Arte that could be eventually shown on the LTV. It seemed a good idea I mean, they were quite open to this. Of course, we don't know exactly, because it's today, if we are well informed, that the new team of LTV will come into existence. So I hope that what we said yesterday will not be completely forgotten by the new team, but we will see that anyway. But it's a good opportunity to meet our colleagues here. They also talked about archives, that they have a strong archives department, so that could be also an interesting path to see what's exactly in those archives, how we can use them better in our own programs here. And there was also some discussions about training. So eventually training some people in some fields. So we have to work on that. And we will do so.
But these are more concerning the official cooperations, because there are existing documentary projects where different countries are producing together films, And I know that there are programs with the Baltic states. I don't know which one in which project. This project mentioned before about the last years of the Soviet Union. There was also one of the Baltic countries part in this production cooperation, and that means that this series of 6 films is also shown in their television.
Questions? Yeah, you're welcome.
Can you tell us something more about ratings of Arte? Because as you mentioned before, who of us watch public television? There are less people that watch public television because in Latvia there are very poor ratings of public television, especially LTV. Can you maybe suggest something to Latvian public broadcaster to maybe somehow raise their ratings if it's possible? Thank you.
What we know about our own ratings is, okay, I gave the figures, 2% in France, 1% in Germany. To go a little bit further inside, what we also know is that it's not the young people who watch Arte. It's rather the upper, around 40. I mean, a good viewer of Arte is a 50 years old man or woman, all the way to more and more. I mean, this is a problem. We know this is a problem. It's very difficult to attract young audiences to Arte and also to television in general. We know that. This is why I asked to raise your hands. We know that there's new ways of looking at images and looking at documentaries. So we have to compete. I have no advice to give to Latvian, really, public television, but make attractive programs.
Yeah, I think for us in the moment, it's the media research where the audience rates were they are delivering us the audience rates, and this research is in the moment a more old system of researching, because Arte has in the last years extended the possibility, the access of their programs in the internet. If we have, we try a documentary which is on the screen, that we can have this documentary for the next 7 days, also accessible through the internet. And I think this is a bit this changing media, how people look on medias, because young people, why should they sit before the television at an evening at 8 o'clock? Why? I think the old generation has more this special daily rhythm about how they look on television. If I look on my daughter, she is 17 years old. She is a bit like with Facebook and looking on the computer and sometimes television at the same time. Okay, but if you have an interesting program and people speak about the program, then you have also that in the internet they see in the next 7 days this program, but these rates we have them separated from the audience rates, but sometimes we had a documentary about Goldman Sachs which was very successful, and it was very successful on the television, and it was also very successful afterwards in Arte. We call it Arte +7 for the next seven days. And so you see, it's not a question that it's only internet users. If a program is interesting, the newspapers, people speak about it, and then they will find the program in the next days in the internet. And in Germany, there is announced for the summer of this year that they find a way of including this internet rates in the general audience rates. And that means that in the moment that they will slightly change, because in the internet there are the young people are looking in Germany more things in the internet than on television. So the older people are looking more conservative on the television screen. So if you combine the audience rates from the internet, it will slightly change. But if the audience rates itself is increasing, we try our best. But we try our best more in making perhaps program transitions better, that the access of programs is better, but not of lowering the quality. Arte is a demanding channel and for quality programs, and I think that there is a certain amount of people who is interested in these things, and we don't change the quality of our program to raise the audience.
Yeah.
Is the politics of translation different in Germany and in France? I mean, voiceover or subtitling?
No, I think in the last years it's getting more and more common. I think in the beginning of Arte it was more that, but it was also in France and in Germany, that it was more programs were subtitled. In the history now, it's more and more getting documentaries with voice-over, but it's the same for both, because the language things are done in Strasbourg, and this is like the central, and I think the policy is a bit the same.
Yes, although we try to respect as much as possible, maybe what you say I'm sure is true for documentaries. If we go for TV fictions, or of course if we go to cinema, the policy of Arte in general is to try to offer both the original version and also an adapted version, should it be voiceover or should it be subtitled. But of course, as a cultural and ambitious TV channel, I mean, we need to respect as much as possible the original version, especially for cinema and TV fiction. And so on Arte, I would say for a majority of films now, you can get both original and subtitled versions.
Yeah, what's the question?
Yeah, question.
I would like to know more about the program structure. When I sit at home all day and watch Arte, what would I see in the morning, in the afternoon, and how it is settled there? So, is there morning channel news or films in the afternoon?
Yeah, I think
you have in the brochure that is given to you. I mean, it's an enormous question. Sorry. There was no English brochure here. Okay, so sorry about that.
There were some in French, some in English.
There was some in English also?
So perhaps the first one.
No, go ahead. You know better the grid.
Yeah, the programming, I think it's also normal in the TV channel that the most money is spent for the primetime programs, because then there is the most people are looking television in the evening, and then from this the daily program is that we have let's say for a documentary we have more possibilities to broadcast them. So the first broadcast would be in the prime time, and then we have the second or third broadcast, and we do that, the repetition not in the prime time, but somewhere in the daily program. And then there are certain programs which are really done for the daily program, like series about cooking,
discovery
programs,
youth programs also. There's some youth programs.
Science magazine.
And of course, there's a certain amount of repetition. I mean, so
it's clearly, and then in the time between 6 and 8, there is we try to get with very, let's say, popular programs with an easy access to get to that we have a bit more audience for the prime time, the very special Arte programs. Yes, and then we have our special evenings, that the Monday is more fiction, Tuesday is more society, Wednesday is really film. Thursday is more, it's new that we have more series there. Yeah, and
Sundays are dedicated, many films on Sundays also.
Yeah. Sunday afternoon is very, very much cultural program. This, let's say, this what the French call more cultural programs, art, music, theater, dance. It's in the Sunday evening. So it's a combination. And if you see that that there is an evening that the audience, let's say, is used to the Tuesday with the society let's say more political programs, you don't change that, because that is in a television. It's very hard to get the audience from one evening to the other one. So it's really, really hard to change these things. You can easily change the program on one day, but if you have an evening or a day with a certain tradition and you change that, normally you lose your audience.
Regarding the public and the audience, does the German audience and the French audience a different view upon, the image of Arte? How could we see any differences between the two kind of audiences, actually? How do they consider, Arte and the image of Arte, if there is any difference?
So I'll answer on the French side. It's a joke. It's a joke a little bit, but a few years ago we had a survey about the image of Arte, or the image of the different channels, and the question was, what is your best preferred channel? A few years ago, and the answer came, that was published in a paper magazine, Télérama. And Arte came quite surprisingly as the best preferred channel for the French audience, which is, of course, a paradox, because people declare that they love Arte, that it's the best channel for them. And personally, and I'm sure it's the same for Dieter, we always bang into people who said, Arte, you are there, hopefully you are there, that's the best, and I only watch Arte and no other channel than Arte. But the reality is completely different, okay? So there is the image of Arte, the brand of Arte means really something, and I think the people are proud that we have set up this, and they like to know that it exists, okay? Do they go to it? The rates are there to show that few of them go, but so this is it. There is sort of a gap between the image and the reality.
Yeah, I think on the German side it's the same. The image of Arte is very good. Like also with the young people, Arte has 400,000 friends on Facebook. 400,000. It's an enormous amount compared with the big TV channels in Germany, because they have 50,000 friends. Arte has 400,000 friends. But these 400,000 friends, if they would see Arte daily, so we have huge audience rates. So it's the same as Facebook. You can click on I like it. Okay, but that doesn't mean that you see it. But for us it's good if they like us.
More questions? Yeah.
I think Arte has a really good program, especially for young people. And you mentioned Tracks, which is a magazine about pop culture, really original, from everything you could watch on TV. So could you tell us more about some of your program, as maybe students here could discover some of them on your website?
Yeah, the website is difficult because of the rights, and even, very much difficult because of the music rights. We have very much problems. Sometimes the film rights are easier than the music rights. So I don't know if it's very easy to detect it in the internet from here, because many of these programs have this geo-blocking that you could only access it from a computer in Germany or in France. But you can try. Sometimes it works. Yeah, I think this we have on Saturday evening. This is the evening more where we make programs for the younger people. It's normally a documentary about pop cultural things. And then comes this Tracks pop music magazine, 1 hour magazine. And after it, at 12 o'clock, there are very much recordings, live concerts of pop music, different groups, independent groups. And this is also with Arte, that Arte does not want to have a concert of Madonna or of Britney Spears, because this is the kind of mainstream Arte is looking and giving the slots more for independent music, for discoveries, more for, okay, sometimes we have also Rod Stewart on the channel, okay, why not? Because there is also an audience interested in this, perhaps more an older audience, why not? Also they have their tradition in the pop music. But yeah, if you would like to detect, perhaps a Saturday evening is not wrong.
And we could add to that the Arte Live web platform, which I think is much easily accessible here, because we have I'm not so sure, but the rights on the Arte Live web programs are wider spread than the rights on the Arte +7, which is the catch-up TV that Dieter mentioned about. So this is also a possibility, because Arte Live web, normally we have broader rights. So I hope here in Latvia it's possible to access it.
Somebody else would like to ask questions? Yep.
We just browsed a little bit over your website, Arte, and unfortunately we searched, but we didn't find any English version. And for those of us who understand German or French even, it's easier, but for those who just understands English, it's quite complicated to understand the program, the essence of the channel. And as you mentioned, Did you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry. So, but you like talking you're from Germany and from France, so you are like talking between in English, right? So all speeches are in English, no? Or are you talking in German and French?
You mean in the channel?
No, I mean between you, like in work or whatever.
No, in the work we speak French and German.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So basically, is there any plans to maybe to convert website also in English version for us to understand and involve a little bit more in your work?
At the moment, so there is we have been trying to find some money in the EU to get on the Arte Live web, which you remember is the performing arts web platform of Arte. We have tried to get some money to make English versions of some of those programs. For the time being, we have not received it, and it's not very sure that we will get it. The pity, I mean, the limit, you're pointing a real strong limit of Arte. It's this question of languages. Of course, you need to speak German or you need to speak French, that's for sure. So it's a huge limit. We could have dreamed in the old days that maybe we could have a third partner who would be the BBC or Channel 4, the public British service. This was never possible. They were not really interested, and so we make some good co-productions with them, and we buy good, series. We have very cordial relations, but nevertheless, they never got into the system of Arte. That would have been really the key to an English version of Arte, would have been if we could have the British with us as partners, but this is not the case.
Because it does not make sense to have a website in English and then the program is only in German and French, because the first view is perhaps sounds international, but if you click on anything, it's in French or in German. So. And that would be, it's not easy done, saying only, let's make the website also in English. It's an enormous effort of these many things in this website. So, yeah, it would be nice to have, but
it goes by more more than 10 or 15 million euros. If you dream of having an English version of Arte, that's, I mean, roughly maybe the sum of money that you need to have, and nobody has this money for the moment.
Questions? Then I will keep floor to ask the last question. And I would like to ask you really to give some overview about documentaries production on Arte, such as your politics in production for producers, how you are choosing topics, and it will be such as some frame for us really to watch on next session really the film about Baltic states, really to understand how you are thinking about films, who you would like to make and why you are making.
Yes, I think documentary is a very wide thing. Documentary is perhaps very, perhaps some of you know this very... In Poland, they have a very old documentary school, being very, very restricted in the limits of television, long camera things, and this is one side of the documentary. But also, documentary is this perhaps very popular thing, which is perhaps fitting in every international market. Meaning that there is nothing which is irritating for an international audience. And if you think about what that means, if you have a documentary which is perhaps in 10, 20 countries, nothing irritating means that it is very polished, very polished. That is normally not the policy of Arte with the documentaries, because for our prime time slots, we have this European documentary films, and very much of the, let's say, of European successful documentary films are co-produced by Arte, but with a very, let's say, auteur handwriting, with a very French version of that. There is the author of the documentary has his own handwriting, and he tells us a story, like what was the last successful, perhaps this Wim Wenders film about Pina Bausch, which was Oscar nominated in the last year, with Arte co-production. But this is really a special approach of Wim Wenders to a certain topic, and this is nothing which we could broadcast at 6 o'clock in the evening, because between 6 and 8 o'clock we have other documentaries, and the kind what you will see afterwards, it's more a documentary there, which is more concerned with nature, with people living in outside, with discovery, a bit nature, adventure, a bit sometimes with animals. Very popular, and what you see is also a very popular way of making a documentary. If you see it, perhaps you can detect it if you hear. I don't know what is it the same version what yesterday was with the Latvian voice speaking? Yeah. Yeah. If you try to hear if this voice is not speaking, what is going on? There is very much music. The score is very very packed of commentary of people speaking or of music. There is no silence in these films. And perhaps these things of more subjective filmmaking, of experimental filmmaking, this is more things for later in the evening. And but Arte is very much supporting these experimental projects in Europe, because they have later slots in the evening, especially for these programs, where perhaps special films from Romania, who have normally no chance in the European market, and Arte is trying to push them, to give them money for that the European film scene is developed.
So one strong aspect of the documentaries in Arte is geopolitics. geopolitics is really an important segment of our documentary slots. We believe that it's our task to explain to people what's going on these grounds. So it gives you the very wide range of documentaries, starting from maybe this discovery nature or whatever normal life you will see about Baltic, which is interesting because it opens minds on an area of Europe that maybe is not that much known, all the way to the documentary, quite controversial, that I don't know if it was yesterday night or if it will be tonight, about the Israeli Shin Bet, which is the Secret Services head of Secret Services, 6 head of Secret Services of Israel, who explain the operations, the work, and what they do what they have done as secret services, and in this terrible confrontation with the Palestinians. And of course, such a documentary, which is absolutely outstanding, is a very controversial one because it's not easily accepted by everyone. So, I mean, there's a really great variety of topics in the documentary offer of Arte. Not to speak about the culture, documentaries, portraits of people, as you said before, history programs, current affairs programs. We have had an enormous success with a documentary about the Monsanto, which is the American seed company, which is suspected to poison half of the planet with the genetically modified. So this is also a very controversial program. We've had enormous problems with this American company. So we try to struggle and to deal with also strong subjects. The Dieter mentioned about the Goldman Sachs. It's not only about the Goldman Sachs, it's about this huge reality of the banking system, which is really probably driving us, I don't know where. But I mean, so these are really strong subjects. So documentary you have for every kind of people. So we try to respond as much as we can.
Thank you very much for your inspiring presentation, and I hope that at least some people in this hall started to think that I would like to produce something for Arte in some future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.